Welcome to Love Your Life After Divorce, the podcast where you'll learn everything you need to know to rebuild your life after divorce from the inside out. Let's dive in. Hey there. Today we are going to talk about co-parenting. This is such an important topic, and I just can't wait to share these 5 tips that I have with you today. So, when you have kids with someone and then you get a divorce, it kind of feels like a rude awakening that you are going to have to continue having some type of relationship with this person who you're either no longer compatible with or who has hurt you really badly. You have to continue communicating with a person that you may actually never want to talk to again. And having poor communication is one of the reasons that a lot of marriages break down. So, you and your ex may already really struggle to communicate well. And so you're going to have to be very intentional and make an effort to successfully communicate and get along well enough with your ex for the sake of your kids. So today I'm just going to share some co-parenting tips, things you can do and focus on that will help you have the best co-parenting relationship possible. The overarching theme to everything I'm going to say today is that your number one priority in co-parenting and communicating with your ex should always be your kids' well-being. Always think about how your choices, how you speak to your ex, what you say, what you choose to do, how all of those things affect your kids, and just always keep their well-being as your number one priority. Co-parenting is something that my ex and I have done extremely well. I just have to brag because I truly believe that that is one of the reasons our kids have adjusted so well to our divorce because we get along really well. We can be in the same space with zero animosity, resentment, negativity. Our kids don't feel uncomfortable when we're all together, and I think that makes a huge difference. We have always done all of our kids' birthdays together and most holidays together. We've actually gone on multiple vacations together since our divorce nearly 5 years ago. A lot of people are surprised by that. And honestly, I know that there's lots of divorced couples who don't go on vacation together. And I know that that's rare, but I'm really, really happy that we're able to do it because I think that just provides a great experience for our kids. It's clear to them that there is no animosity or resentment between us. We just show up together as a family for these types of things. And I have to tell you, it wasn't easy. I mean, we both had reasons to be very angry with each other and to not want to have the type of relationship that we have. We had a pretty rocky patch when we were going through our divorce, but I think we both decided early in the divorce process to put the kids first. I mean, I actually specifically remember my ex-husband saying that to me. He said, I'm tempted to be angry, to want to hold things over your head, to want to somehow kind of punish you. But I realized that that wouldn't be good for the kids. So I'm not going to do that. And so I really, really applaud him for that. And that's just one of the ways that he has shown me what a great dad he is and what an amazing person he is. And so, what does it look like to actually put your kids first? Well, I'm going to share 5 ways for you to do that. Number 1, don't ever use your children as a weapon to punish your ex. This may sound a bit extreme, and you may be thinking that you would never do that. But there are a lot of subtle ways that people do this. You may not even realize you're doing it. So, a good way to examine if you're doing this or not is to gauge how you're feeling toward your ex. If you have a lot of anger and resentment toward your ex, and you have a desire to punish him or for him to feel pain or receive some type of negative consequence for what he did to you in your relationship, then you are actually at risk for using your kids to punish him. It can look like refusing to do something that your ex has asked you to do to like help him out with the kids. You interpret that as helping him, like picking up a child from practice if he's running late or something at work, or not allowing your kids to talk to him when they're with you. It could look like not telling your ex about something that's going on with your kids because you want him to feel left out of the loop. But when you do those types of things, you're not only hurting your ex, you're hurting your kids and their relationship with him. Now, it's not your job to create an amazing relationship between your kids and their other parent. Your ex has that responsibility. He has to decide how to show up, how to treat your kids, how to nurture that relationship. But it is important that you do what you can to give your kids the best chance possible to have a close, connected, and loving relationship with your ex because that's what's best for them. So don't ever withhold your children from your ex as a way to hurt him because this hurts your kids probably more than you know. This includes letting your kids talk to your ex when you have them, telling him about activities that he can attend while the kids are with you, keeping him informed about things that are going on with your kids, and sometimes maybe even going out of your way to make sure that the kids get the time they deserve to have with the other parent. So just check yourself and your motives. Like I said, if you're feeling really angry or resentful toward your ex and want him to suffer, then you may somehow be using your kids to do this. You may be succeeding and hurting your ex in this way, but you are definitely also hurting your kids. Number two, never make your kids feel like they have to pick a side. Even if you never actually say anything out loud to indicate that your kids need to pick a side, if you make it really clear that you and your ex are not on the same team, then they're going to feel pressure to pick a side. If they know that you are always angry and don't agree with your ex and you're always criticizing him, then your kids are going to feel this tension of, am I on mom's side or am I on dad's side? So, as much as you possibly can, show your kids that you and your ex are on good terms, that there's no competition, anger, resentment. You can vent to your friends about your ex all day long. Don't get me wrong. I know sometimes your ex can drive you absolutely crazy and you need an outlet for that. And there's nothing wrong with telling your friends how awful he is and how much he's irritating you. But please don't say those things in front of your kids or give them the idea that you and your ex are just on opposing sides. Now, I know there are extenuating circumstances, and sometimes it's really impossible to give your kids the impression that you and your ex get along at all or are on the same page. So I understand that those are some extreme situations, but for most of us, I think we really can present just an idea that you and your ex get along well enough for the sake of the kids. So just do what's in your power to separate out your relationship with your ex from his relationship with your kids. Don't ever ask your kids to tell you things about what your ex is doing, as if you're asking them to like spy on him. And don't ever say anything bad about your ex in front of your kids. I know this is so tempting when you know that your ex has done a lot of harmful or hurtful things. And especially, I've heard so many women say that it's so infuriating when their kids, especially if they're younger, oh, the kids think that he's just amazing and he hung the moon and they have no idea all these awful things he's done. And it's almost like they want their kids to know how awful he is, but you're only hurting them and making things harder for them if you share things about your ex that make your kids feel sad and angry toward him. As they grow and mature and the relationship with their other, parent continues throughout their life, they're going to see the truth for themselves. It's not your job to give them an accurate view of your ex. Just let that unfold naturally on its own. Number three, this one is especially important if you and your ex have historically argued a lot or have a hard time getting along. And that is this one. Keep communication businesslike and focused on your kids. Keep texting or even conversations brief, direct, and clear. Don't accuse, blame, or threaten when you're discussing things about your kids. There's no need to rehash the past or bring up old arguments. If your ex, for example, says he can't do something like switch weekends or drop the kids off early, don't use that as an opportunity to bring up how he's always been so selfish and uncaring. And also, on the flip side, don't let him draw you into arguments. If he takes a jab or says something that triggers you and you have an urge to just fire something back, take a breath, take a few minutes, take some time to think before you respond. When you feel yourself in that heightened emotional state, when you're either, texting or talking to him, it's never a good idea to respond from that place. You can choose not to comment at all, especially through text. Just ignore certain comments that aren't about the kids and that are only going to lead down a negative path where you guys get into a big argument. So just only address things that are necessary to help you co-parent well. Be aware of when you're getting triggered because you know that you don't show up as the best version of yourself when you're triggered. Instead, you're going to be short, angry, accusatory, passive aggressive. So just remember to get yourself regulated and calmed down before you continue a conversation. And if you're having a really hard time communicating without fighting, or if your ex is always upsetting you with what he says, then you may need to set some really firm boundaries about communication. There are parenting apps that you can communicate through, or you can insist and follow through on your boundary to only communicate through email or something like that. Now, number 4 is to communicate as openly as possible about your kids and what's going on with them. Because the more you both know, the more you can work together to do what's best for your kids. So discuss rules that you have at your house, plans that you're making with your kids, or activities that you want them to do, like playing a sport or taking dance lessons. Make decisions together as much as possible. Now, it's extremely rare that you and your ex are going to agree on everything related to parenting your kids. You're definitely going to have different rules at each of your houses, and that's okay. You have to decide what's actually vital to agree on, and then you have to let go of those other small ways that you disagree or parent your kids differently. But if you do have some shared rules or expectations, make sure you follow through on those, like screen time, bedtime, curfew, things like that. And also, as far as open communication goes, it's so helpful if you let the other parent know if something happened with one of your kids while they were with you. For example, it would be super helpful to let them know that your child cried and got upset about the divorce, or that they were asking specific questions, or that they fell on their bike and now they're afraid to ride it again, or that they had like a rough day at school and now they say they hate science. So it's just really helpful to share those types of things with your ex so that they can show up as the best parent for your kid. When they're going through something hard, it makes just a more cohesive parenting experience when you guys are more on the same page and they know what emotional state your kids are in or what circumstances have happened since they were last with that parent. Number 5 is to take the focus off how your ex is acting, what choices he's making, and instead focus on how you want to show up, both as a parent to your kids and as a co parent with your ex. If you are continually blaming your ex and focusing on all the things he's doing wrong, that mindset does not serve you or your kids. It causes you to either be in like this self righteous mode or in a victim mode. It keeps you stuck and unable to move forward and do what you can to actually improve the situation. Now, I'm not telling you to ignore bad behavior or choices that are harmful to your kids. I know for sure that all of us have that mama bear that comes out in us when we think our kids are being harmed in any way or mistreated. And so your ex may definitely be making some bad choices. Your assessment of their behavior might be totally accurate. But what my point is here is I want you to be able to show up in a way that allows you to be the most effective and productive in this situation and to be able to do what you can to improve the parenting relationship for your kids. So just think about it. What does it do for you or your kids when you are fixated on everything he's doing wrong? When you're thinking to yourself, oh, he should be doing this, or he should be doing that, or he should never be doing that, and that's what he's doing. Those kinds of thoughts may make you feel helpless, angry, frustrated, powerless. It just builds resentment and it puts the focus on him and what he's doing instead of on your kids. And it also creates this cycle of looking for more evidence to build your case. We all do this with everything in life, but we all look for evidence to support what we already believe. And especially something like the way your kids are being parented. If you start to go down that path of thinking he's not doing a good job, he's not parenting very well, then you're going to look for every little thing that's going to give you that evidence that he's not doing a good job. So instead of just fixating on that, focusing, being super critical, and thinking about all the ways he's failing as a parent, instead, if something is happening with the way your ex is parenting, ask yourself this simple question: is there anything I can do about this? If there is, and you're willing to do it, then go ahead and take action. This gets you into problem solving mode instead of just criticizing mode. Maybe you can have a conversation with him. Maybe there are some boundaries that you need to set. Maybe you need to take legal action. If there's anything you can do to influence how your ex is parenting and treating your kids, and you can make the situation better for your kids, then by all means do that. But if there's truly not, and you're focusing on things like how much screen time he lets them have, or that he lets them stay up later than you would, if you're focused on things like that and there's really nothing you can do about it, if you've already had a conversation with him, if you've already expressed your concern and he's not going to change, then all it's going to do is drive you crazy and not be good for anybody. If you are either internally, quietly to your mind, or loudly, externally criticizing him and how he parents, then you just feel stuck and frustrated. So just remember where your power lies. You control your responses and how you show up. So if he did XYZ, now what are you going to do? You get to choose how to respond and what to think about his behavior. So just focus on how you want to show up, how you want to parent, the dynamic that you want to create with your kids. If your ex is showing up in a really unhealthy or harmful way, then your kids need you to show up as even more stable, more loving, more consistent, more grounded. So whatever thoughts you can have that cause you to show up in that way, that's what you want to focus on. And when you're focused entirely on how awful he is, then you're not probably showing up as the most grounded and calm and loving and consistent version of yourself. Now, also, I just want to remind you that co-parenting evolves. The way you're co-parenting the first 6 months after your divorce is probably not the way you're going to be co-parenting 5 years from then. So just realize that. And if things aren't as good as you would like them to be, there's always room for improvement. And there's also a lot of changes that happen along the way, maybe a move, a new relationship, new work hours. So just remember that the way your co-parenting situation is currently happening won't be that way forever, good or bad, really. But it's just important to remember to be flexible instead of super rigid. Co-parenting is a long game. You're going to co-parent until your kids are 18. And even after that, you're still going to have communication with your ex about your kids. So just to recap, here are the 5 co-parenting tips. Number 1, don't ever use your children as a weapon to punish your ex. Number 2, never make your kids feel like they have to pick a side. Number 3, keep communication businesslike and focused on the kids. Be brief, direct, and clear. Number 4, communicate as openly as possible about your kids and what's going on with them. Number 5, take the focus off your ex and how he is acting and parenting, and instead focus on how you want to act and parent. So how are you doing as a co-parent? How do you feel like you and your ex are parenting your kids as now you're divorced? Do you see areas that you can improve in? If you have any questions about anything I've said today or feedback about what I've shared, I would love to hear from you. You are welcome to just send me an email, Angie@angiewilsoncoaching.com, or you can send me a DM on my Instagram account, which is Angie Wilson Coaching. I would honestly love to support you and your kids as you navigate this co-parenting journey. Did you know that there are 5 distinct stages to healing after divorce? Which stage are you currently in? And how can you successfully move to the next stage? Find out by getting the free roadmap so you can heal and move on faster after divorce. Simply go to my website, angiewilsoncoaching.com, and click Get the Free Roadmap.